Hello, everyone, and welcome to Leveraging Funding for Extended Reality Projects. I'm Michael Paddock, CEO of Grants Office, and I want to welcome you to today's session. We've got a very exciting session planned for you today with some new announcements from HP and some grants that can help you fund all of this. Before we get started, I've got a few housekeeping items for you. First of all, as many of you know, you can listen hands-free over your computer speakers or headphones. If you do become disconnected, you can use the audio and video menu at the top of your screen to find the alternative ways of connecting by audio. Also, you can ask questions at any time using the question and answer interface at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Feel free to send in as many questions as you'd like, and we'll get to as many as we can over the course of today's session. The session is being recorded, and the replay will be available for download at grantsoffice.com/HP. I will send that through the chat, the first of many notes that I'll be sending through the chat as we go forward. And, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our sponsors for sponsoring today's event, making it possible, HP, Microsoft, and Intel, for sponsoring today's event, and not just today's event, but an entire series of educational webinars focused on providing you with not only grants information, but also highlights of the technologies that are leading the way in educational innovation and the resources that are available to you beyond just grant support to help you better understand and leverage these technologies. So again, big sponsor to HP, Microsoft, and Intel for sponsoring today's session. I'm joined today by a great group of panelists. First of all, Dana Castro from HP and Elias Stefan from HP as well, who will be talking to us about both the HP Grant Support Program and the new announcements related to HP's virtual reality offerings. Very exciting stuff. And Liz Shea from Grants Office, who will be talking to us about kind of the grants landscape as it relates to virtual reality and extended realities, and how to think about those things and ultimately how to get them funded. So we're going to be covering a brief presentation on the HP Grant Support Services Program, kind of what it is and how to think about it and what sorts of resources are available to you. And then Elias will be talking to us about the HP OmniCept solution, a brand new solution like a day ago it was announced, maybe 2 days ago. And so he'll be taking us through the applications of the OmniCept solution in an from an educational perspective. And then we'll talk about some grants to support extended realities technology, and then further how to get engaged with the grant support program and how to leverage some of these funding opportunities that may be available to help you as you begin to move forward with a technology project generally and an extended reality project in particular. So with that, I want to turn it over to Dana Castro to talk to us a little bit about the HP Grant Support Program. Dana?
Thank you, Michael, and it's great to see all of you out there. Many of them are my friends, so nice to see you all. So at HP, we believe innovation should not stop despite this pandemic, but we also recognize the reality of budgets and trade-offs happening daily throughout your campus. So in response to COVID-19, HP, we partnered up with some of our favorite folks in the technology space, Intel, Microsoft, and AMD, and we pulled all of our resources together to contract with the Grants Office. So this new program offers your institutions free of charge and no obligation all of the consulting services from Michael's team that may discover new funding pathways for your innovative extended reality projects. So at the end of today's presentation, I will be providing you instructions and next steps for how you can participate in the HP Grant Support Services Program. But we have a lot to cover today, so I do want to get started, and I have the great pleasure of introducing a friend and colleague of mine, Elias Stefan, who leads HP's Virtual Reality Partnership Program. So Elias, take it away.
All right, thank you, Dana. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Elias Stefan, and I'm the Head of Business Development at HP Inc. in the XR Developer Relation based in California in the Bay Area. And let me pull my slides here and start talking here. So today, I'm going to introduce today a brand new innovative XR solution we are bringing to the market early spring 2021. We did, as Michael said earlier, we did announce this solution yesterday publicly via the VR AR Global Summit Conference, and of course, we did it virtually. The solution I'm going to talk about today consists of a brand new headset and a software platform. We call it SDK, Software Developer Kit. And the new headset, I'm not sure how many of you on the call today attended the VR AR Global Summit, but the new headset is an HP Reverb G2 Omnicept Edition, and the new software platform is called HP Omnicept SDK. I'm going to move to the next slide here. And as Michael said earlier, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat. I will do my best to answer most of the questions before closing this session. Our vision at HP in the XR business unit is to drive the most desirable immersive XR ecosystem that naturally empowers all people to better themselves. So based on this statement, our vision, here is what I'm going to cover today for you. Okay, we'll go through some insights. I'm going to introduce to you the new HP Reverb G2 headset Omnicept Edition. I'm going to introduce you also to the new software platform HP Omnicept, and I'm going to show you short videos on both. And then I'm going to go into more details on the product itself and the platform, and then introduce to you a new concept that we are bringing to market with the headset and the SDK through our HP Labs and R&D. It's called Cognitive Load, part of the SDK, which is really, really exciting. And then I'll switch to the business model and how do we go to market. Okay, so let's get started here. Let's talk a little bit about some insights. You know, the landscape is definitely changing around collaboration, creation, learning. Learning is big for us, right? Whether it's education or training. And the last one is healthcare, wellness. So if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see some of the statistics that are, some of it really amazing and mind-boggling. Specifically the third bullet, but we'll talk about the first one. Facial expression and body language account for up to 50% of effective communication. Again, the second bullet says here 25 to 30% of the workforce will be working from home in 2021. We've interviewed around 1,300 IT decision makers, and we came up with this number as well. 10% recall rate for traditional training and 75% recall rate when training in VR. On the right-hand side of the screen, you see a picture, and this is actually a picture from one of our partners called Ovation VR. This is a VR application that actually trains you how to do a better public speaking. And as you can see in the picture, we have a hotel room, right, 3D scanned, and then the speaker, which will be you if you're training on that VR application, how to actually deliver that public speaking effectively. And what I'm going to talk about the SDK itself and HP Omnicept, we're going to talk about some innovative ways our VR developers like Ovation VR took into their content, and they're going to deliver really innovative solution to the marketplace, and I'll get to that. And then last but not least, using VR for approximately 30 seconds before, during, or after vaccination was associated with 45% to 74% decrease in pain compared to the usual care. And this is amazing. So let's dive into quickly, what is HP Omnicept solution. Again, we call it a solution because it's not just the product itself. You see here on the left-hand side, it is also a high-end Omnicept SDK with artificial intelligence and sensor fusion. I'll explain more in details when I go to the next slides. And as well a machine language included in the SDK. So HP Reverb G2 Omnicept Edition is an intelligent XR headset and platform. It will capture and interpret human conditions to allow for customized content for end user. So similar example that I took earlier with Ovation VR, what's coming, data coming from the headset, you can capture all of that and include it in your content and then get a view more data accurately about that user, whether you're training a doctor on a surgery, whether you're training somebody how to put a fire in an oil rig, and so on and so forth. The new platform combines our HP Reverb G2. The G2 we announced back in May. Just a quick sentence here. Whatever I'm talking about here today, HP Omnicept solution, the headset itself, Omnicept Edition, is targeted for enterprise account. What we announced in the past in May timeframe is the HP Reverb G2 is more towards consumer, I would say, / commercial as well. In the new headset itself, there is a cutting-edge sensor technology to capture biological data, and I'll show you this in the next slide coming, an advanced sensor fusion to combine this data and package it into actionable information, right? And then an innovative artificial intelligence technology for analysis and predictive outcomes. Now, let me run a video here. I don't see it loaded, but I will load it right now, if you don't mind. I'll run a video, short video, to show you what the headset looks like. All right. So hopefully you saw the video. It was a bit choppy for me, but hopefully you saw it. So let's dive into the hardware product itself. I'll start from the top left and go clockwise on this slide. We have all the top sensory built into this headset. We're starting with heart rate. During a stressful or exciting situation, the body releases adrenaline, causing pulse rate to increase. We capture that through the sensor built into the headset itself. One also sensory is included in the headset is pupillometry, which basically measures your eye pupil dilation. The third one is eye tracking. This product has eye tracking in it, so it actually, during a VR experience, the application you are using would track where you're looking and capture that data for interpretation through our engine that we provide with the SDK. The product itself comes with 4 cameras, plus an additional face camera that is pointing towards half of your face towards your mouth. That is basically going to be used for facial expressions and then also generating real-time avatars. Now, the additional insight that we're adding through the SDK, and which I'll talk about how it's included, how do we actually go to market with it, how do we sell it, how do we provide it to academia, I have one slide on that. But cognitive load is an added insight that is a development from HP Labs and our R&D. And as you can read under it, it says determining how much brain power a user is exerting on the task at hand. So that's, in a nutshell, the product itself. So let's dive into a little bit more details on the product. I talked about the sensory that collects all the data, and it's listed there: eye tracking, pupillometry sensor, heart rate sensor, face camera, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, we built on our HP G2, Reverb G2 headset we announced in May with the high resolution lenses from Valve, 2160 per eye by 2160 LCD panels. And a new feature that's also we're introducing with this headset is called foveated rendering. You know, you can Google foveated rendering. It's a technique which uses an eye tracker integrated with a virtual reality headset to reduce the rendering workload by greatly reducing the image quality in the peripheral vision. So basically, in a nutshell, your GPU would be working less and less with foveated rendering. Also, we included Valve design ear speakers with lifelike HPVR spatial audio, full range of motion 4 cameras. Again, remember, additional to the 4 cameras, we have a face camera as well. 90% of possible arm movement versus 65% can be tracked. Controllers input conform more closely to industry standards. And last but not least, long wearing comfort. A new ratcheting headband, improved face mask cushions, and IPD manual adjust. IPD is the distance between your two pupils. So all in all, cutting edge technology, high-end sensory built into one headset from HP. And as I said earlier, this headset and the SDK OmniCept is going to be available early spring 2021. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some use cases where HP OmniCept solution is going to fit. I have 4 boxes at the bottom here. Training is going to be huge for us and for end users, right? Design and architecture is another one. Wellness in healthcare. We have a lot of interest in healthcare VR solutions as well, and also in research as well. These are 4 categories we're going to focus on. In training specifically, one of the use cases I chose on this slide is if you take a flight simulator, VR flight simulator, and then this trainer on the right-hand side is training a pilot, and then with HP OmniCept cognitive load, that trainer is able to monitor the brain capacity of that pilot being trained. And if he or she induces a bird strike on engine number 2, they want to see if the cognitive load goes up, stays in the middle, or even if it's low, and determine what the next step would be with the pilot. Okay? Let me go to the next slide. Let me talk a little bit about cognitive load insight here built into HP OmniCept SDK. So brain capacity is amount of working memory consumed while undergoing the experience. That experience could be like the use case I talked about just a minute ago, the VR flight simulator, could be a surgeon being trained to do a surgery, could be a firefighter being trained to put off fires in an oil rig, et cetera, right? So one of the questions could be, because of OmniCept cognitive load, would be, is the learner working memory overloaded? Is the retention suffering? Based on those collected data, the VR application could actually tailor to that person or persons. On the performance side, indicator of the user's engagement based on the amount of brain power put towards the task. So if the cognitive load is high, that means somehow whatever the task is, maybe poor performance. If the lower cognitive load means maybe that person is not engaged fully with whatever you're trying to show them or train them, right? Is the delivery method correct? Is the learner impaired, disengaged? Is the trainer in a flow state? And so on and so forth. Last but not least, how will the learner know and understand the content? Tests become so easy that performance is likely to become perfect. Is the training too easy? Is it too hard? And then you go and adapt your solution based on the feedback being collected by the headsets on the left-hand side here, all these sensory at work, going through analytics, through the engine, and SDK inference engine, and then providing the content developer or content creator with a cognitive load insight. How much brain power is being used? How does user perform under stress? How quickly are decisions made? So let me take you through a quick video as well to position what HP OmniSub solution is about. So let's go here. Just give me 1 minute. I have to load this file. Here we go. It takes 1 second. There you go. All right, cool video, I must say. Oops. Okay, let's go back to my slides. All right, so let's talk about how we actually going to go to market with these solutions, including the headset. Now, just straightforward, the headset itself is going to be available through all HP channels, how we sell our hardware worldwide. The first introduction will be in 68 countries. If you look at this screen on the left-hand side, I'm starting with the core. So we call those the swim lanes. So I'm going to explain what each swim lane is all about. So whoever buys our headset in those 68 countries can go to the HP website and download a core SDK. That SDK will be, you will be able to access all the sensory that I just talked about, heart rate and so on and so forth, right? And then that's a free download. You can use it. You can develop cool applications just by using that SDK to capture all the sensory from the headset. On the academic side, which I'm sure most of you on this call will be interested to know, that HP decided to provide the full SDK, and if you read here, well, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, cognitive load for educational use, free of charge. So if you are a student, if you are a professor, if you are a researcher, if you are working for an educational institution, you're able to download the full SDK, including cognitive load, free of charge in selected countries. And I listed those selected countries at the bottom, okay? Just to make a distinction, on the core, that SDK is going to be available in 68 countries where the headset is available. On the SDK with cognitive load in the first 9 countries listed below. Now, if some of you at academia takes that SDK and develops a software for profit and starts selling it for profit outside the university or on your own, you're going to fall into this developer lane. The developer lane also is really neat because we provide the developers. If you join our ecosystem as a developer by signing a commercial agreement with HP, saying that you're going to take the full SDK with cognitive load and then develop something innovative, cutting edge, and you start selling it, when you make money in the marketplace, you do a revenue share model with HP. Okay. The last but not least, on the enterprise side, some big corporations, as I said earlier, our solution is targeted to enterprise. So if you're an enterprise and you have your own developers in-house, you would buy the SDK license from us, you would buy support contract, and you would buy also a runtime version licenses to deploy your solution in your organization. I know this is maybe too much to take first time, but we have all of that on our brand new website that we launched yesterday, which is really amazing. It's hp.com/Omnicept, and I have one slide at the end to show you the website as well. On the Omnicept security and privacy, this is a big topic at HP. Like any of our other products, hardware products, we think security is key for us, and we really strive in order to make sure data, hardware is all secured. On the HP Reverb G2 Omnicept Edition headset, the HMD, the head-mounted display firmware, secures data during capture. You know, when I say during capture, it means during capture through the sensory, and no data is stored on the headset. And HP Omnicept SDK itself is designed to assist with meeting GDPR requirements, and the Omnicept partner or enterprise user data is anonymous, aggregated, and secured. And I'm sure some of you might have questions. I'm more than happy to answer some of these questions. We've been working behind the scenes on what we call early access partners. We worked with all of these logos, and we provided them with a head start on the SDK. And I'm not sure if you attended yesterday or today the VR AR Global Summit. We had some of our partners that are listed there, like PixoVR, like Thea, like Ovation. One of the questions that was asked to them, how long did it take you to take HP Omnicept SDK and implement it in your software? One of the answers, which I really loved, that said, well, it took us as long as the time to ask this question. So basically, taking the SDK to implement it in your existing or brand new application you want to create is extremely fast. And for people joining our ISV ecosystem, independent software vendor ecosystem, we provide you with a developer portal. We provide you also with a live support. We have two people, one in the U.S., stationed in the U.S. and one in Spain. But as you can see, this is just a start early access program. We believe our ecosystem is going to grow tremendously. Our focus, if you're thinking what's the focus going to be, is training and education are the top use cases that we are actually positioning this solution to go after. Healthcare, but healthcare includes also training and education as well. Now, if you're wondering what engines this product or this solution works with, it is working with Unity and Unreal engines, right? Here I included a couple of websites that you can go to, developers.hp.com/XR. You'll take you to the developer site, and then this is the brand new website that I just talked about. It is full of wealth of information. Once you click Get Started, you're going to get a wealth of information on this solution that we just announced yesterday. Here are the two websites that you can go to. And as I said, I will try to answer some of the questions that I see in the chat while others are talking. I want to thank you for your time. We at HP are so excited about this solution going to market, working with end users directly, working with academia, working with ISVs worldwide. Thank you for your attention. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Elias. What a great solution. I was blown away. We were going through some of this stuff yesterday, and I was absolutely blown away by the potential that this solution has to advance not only research but also training, as Elias was saying. We did have a quick question before we move on, Elias, I think, and this one may be for Dana as well. We participated in the EDUCAUSE HP Campus of the Future initiative. Is this part of that partnership, or will we need to talk with someone else about these products?
I think Dana would answer that.
It's a great question. There's a couple of folks out here from the HP Blended Reality Applied Research Network. And if you can drop me a note and we can take that offline, that'd be awesome. It's dana.castro@hp.com.
Great. Thanks, Dana. And then one final question that came in. You mentioned that the solution will be available in the spring. If we're looking to include OmniCept headsets into a grant proposal, presumably sooner rather than later, is there a way to get pricing to include in our grant budget?
Yes, we are going to announce pricing, Michael, very, very soon, right? Yesterday, we did not announce the pricing, but that's coming in an announcement from HP very, very soon. Of course, definitely on the headset. As I said, the SDK is free for academia, but if you're an enterprise, we will have also the pricing on the SDK that includes the cognitive load that I just spoke about.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Stay tuned. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Liz Shea now to take us through some of the grants that may help provide funding for XR projects of really any stripe, and in particular, XR funding that might be able to support this type of solution as well. So, Liz?
Thanks, Michael. So I'm going to talk about 3 different grant programs today that are all super tech friendly, meaning the grant makers are super happy to fund technology to meet solutions. And so they all fit really well with funding XR technologies. The first of these is the Improving Undergrad STEM Education, Education and Human Resources bucket. There are actually a lot of different IUs buckets, but we're going to just focus on this Education and Human Resources bucket today. One application deadline is going to be December 1st. This is for level 2 and 3 applications, which is over $300,000. Level 1 applications will be due in early February. So this particular program really seeks to promote novel, creative, and transformative approaches to generating and using new knowledge about STEM teaching and learning to improve STEM education for undergraduate students. In other words, they want to advance STEM knowledge in undergraduate education and adapt, improve, and incorporate evidence-based practices into STEM teaching and learning. There are 2 different funding tracks available depending on the specific project interests and what exactly you're trying to do. The first of these is the Engaged Student Learning track. This focuses on design, development, and research projects that involve the creation, exploration, or implementation of tools, resources, and models to increase student engagement and learning in STEM. These projects may focus directly on the students or focus indirectly, serving the students through things like faculty professional development or research on teaching and learning. The other funding bucket is the Institutional and Community Transformation track. This particular one funds work applying evidence-based practices to improve undergraduate STEM education and research on the organizational change processes involved in implementing evidence-based practices. So basically, the real emphasis of this track is on systemic changes that can be measured at the departmental, institutional, or multi-institutional level, or across communities of STEM educators or educational researchers. Either way, what the National Science Foundation is really looking for is projects that won't just improve STEM education at the host institution. They want to invest in those projects that will hold a promise of broader implications, so we can improve our understanding of effective teaching and learning practices at a larger scale. So, as I mentioned, the RFP is available now for this particular program, and funding amounts can vary quite broadly, anywhere from $150,000 to $3 million for 2 to 5 year projects, depending on which particular funding track you take and which level you're looking at for your particular project. This grant can be applied for by any type of institution of higher education as well as associated organizations. Really the key is that you're looking at doing innovative STEM education. The next of these programs that I want to talk about is the Advanced Technological Education, or ATE. This particular grant application is actually due today, but now is the perfect time to be talking about it because you can prepare for the next funding cycle, which will come in fall of 2021. This particular program is really interested in supporting STEM technician training, especially at two-year institutions. So you can see at the top of the screen, there's a variety of different areas of STEM technician training that the NSF is interested in for this particular program. There are a lot of different things that you can do as well as part of this program. So it's things like program development and improvement, curriculum and educational materials development, professional development for educators, building up leadership capacity for faculty, preparing teachers to be better K-12 STEM educators, business and entrepreneurial skills development for the students so that they're better prepared to enter the workforce, and instrumentation acquisition so that you can do curriculum modifications. And there's one bucket that I really want to highlight today as being especially appealing, especially for community colleges. This program is called Small Grants for Institutions New to ATE. This program is just for community colleges to apply, and only those community colleges that have little or no previous experience with the ATE program or the National Science Foundation more broadly. This funding bucket can fund projects that serve as prototypes or pilots for potential future ATE project proposals. So it doesn't take quite as large a commitment going into it. Of special interest to the NSF is rural technician education, so that can be an even bigger bonus if you can fit it into this particular funding bucket. And I also wanted to mention a really cool program that NSF does specifically for this ATE grant, and now is the perfect time to start looking into it. NSF does something called the Mentor Connect program, and basically it takes schools that are new to ATE that have never tried to apply to this grant before and pairs them with a school that's an expert at the ATE program and has a lot of experience with it. And you get this mentorship opportunity to help handle a little bit of some of the stresses that can come from applying for this big type of grant if you haven't done these kinds of things before. And that puts you in an even better position when you get to doing something like applying for the small grants for institutions new to ATE bucket in this particular program. So this particular program, the RFP usually comes out in midsummer and has deadlines for several years listed in there. We'll expect the next deadline in fall 2021. The funding amounts vary pretty widely for this program as well, $75,000 to $600,000 for a 2 to 3 year project, depending on which of the tracks you end up taking. In terms of eligibility, it's really important to note that 2-year degree granting institutions should be the lead applicant for this particular program and must be the lead applicant for that small grants for institutions new to ATE. But there's also opportunity for other institutes of higher education, businesses, or nonprofits to partner with these 2-year schools to really build up the overall project and all lend their expertise. And then the final grant I want to talk about today is called Research on Emerging Technologies for Teaching and Learning. This particular program will have an application deadline in January of this coming year. So this program is looking at integrating knowledge about how people teach and learn with the opportunities that are offered by emerging technologies. All of these projects must focus on a clear research objective that integrates teaching and/or learning and technology innovations to advance the respective fields. So teaching innovations, they mean things like new teaching processes and approaches that are relevant to how the proposed technology will be situated in an educational setting. If instead you choose to focus on the learning aspect, these are new learning processes, principles, and theories relevant for how the proposed technology will be situated in a learning setting. This could include places like home, school, or the workplace. When you apply to this program, you can focus on one or the other of teaching and learning, or you can focus on both aspects. Regardless, every application needs to focus on this technology innovation aspect. So the NSF is really interested in new and emerging technologies within the teaching and learning context, and they're looking specifically for projects that will advance the knowledge in computer science, information science, or engineering fields. This program is really cool because it's specifically focusing on projects that are exploratory and experimental in nature. They're really looking at you pushing the envelope to advance teaching and learning and educate a new generation of students, teachers, educators, and mentors. So this particular program, as you might expect, the RFP is already out, and funding is up to $850,000 for up to 3 years. And this particular program, again, any institution of higher education or other nonprofit research entity is eligible to apply. The important thing is that you can meet both the focus on teaching and learning and the technological innovation aspects of this particular program. All right, and with that, I'm going to pass things back to Michael.
Thanks very much, Liz, and great information. We had a couple of questions that have come in, one about the additional information that may be available on these various programs that you talked about. I sent that information through the chat, and so you should be able to find that information there, as well as you can get it from the HP Grant Support Program, which Dana will be talking about shortly. Had a question that came in. Do you know if the grant for community colleges would honor the P-TECH program, which also results in an associate's degree when completed? Does it have to be degree granting, the nature of the project, or what are the parameters around which kinds of programs can be funded under the community colleges grant that you talked about?
Yeah, so that depends a little bit on the specific track that you're looking at doing. They're really interested in STEM technician education. That's really the most important aspect, and it really needs to be situated at a two-year institution. So something that's not degree granting still could potentially fit in some of these areas, but they do tend to have a preference for degree granting programs. Not that the grant needs to fund the entire degree granting program. It would just be an aspect of that particular program.
Okay. Also, another question that came in, is this RETTL grant available for K-12 or just higher education?
So in this particular case, you would probably need a higher education organization or a nonprofit leading this, but the focus is not specifically on undergraduate STEM education. It could apply to K-12 STEM education as well, in terms of the teaching and learning aspects of it.
Great, fantastic. And then we had one more question, which I think takes us right into Dana's presentation coming up next. Is the HP Grant Support Program available to help us with projects that include XR, like Omnicept, but may not be exclusively XR? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dana to talk to us a little bit about the program.
Yeah, so this is that's a great question, and I learn every day from Michael and his team. So on that question of do these grants fund XR? So when you engage with the HP Grant Support Program and you essentially have Michael's team as your staff to help you from the end-to-end process of finding a grant to actually submitting the grant, except for writing it. That's one thing from a conflict of interest area that we cannot do, but everything else this team supports. And the one thing they taught me, and the one area that I scoped this program around is, all of you have a lot of different projects, really important work and research that you're doing that requires technology. And so the grant funder, as you're submitting these reports, will be interested first and foremost in what project you're working on and which outcomes it will yield, and if that aligns to their vision. But the grants that we're going to be proposing as part of this program are all technology friendly. So yes, you can include the HP Omnicept solution. You can include other applications, whether that's software or infrastructure. Those are all things that would be included in our areas that we discuss with you as we go through the consulting process. So grants can seem overwhelming. They can seem a little bit intimidating. And so we've made this process extremely simple for you all. So to get started, you would go out to thegrantsoffice.com/HP, and in there, in the main top header bar, you're going to see a link to the Technology Grants Consultation Request. So all you have to do is fill out this simple form that has your contact information, and we ask 2 questions. And these 2 questions kick off everything. What are your technology needs, and what are the program projects and initiatives that your technology will support? And those 2 questions are going to kick off a process where within 7 business days of this form being submitted, Michael's team is going to come back to you with a full comprehensive list of all of the grants that would support your project. And what I'm so impressed about the work that this team does is, you know, you've heard today about some national programs out there, national grants. They will also look within your geographical area, and they will search for all of the foundations that you could also apply for. Because remember, foundations are a little bit more they're a little bit more easier to deal with. They're a little bit faster, a little bit less of a heavy lift in terms of submitting those applications. So if you've, for example, if you've never written a grant, like you might want to start with a foundation grant first before you dive into an NSF grant. So we'll get on the phone together with you once you receive that report, and Michael's team will walk you through all of the grants, any questions you have, and the outcome of this 45-ish minute call is we're going to help narrow it down to 2 grants for you to really help you focus. And then we will not drop you throughout the process. So my colleague, Leslie Odell, she'll reach out to you about every 2 weeks, kind of see how you're doing, if you want to get back on the phone and talk through some next steps or problems or questions with Michael's team. So we'll carry this through until you actually submit your grant. And remember, this is all free. There's no obligation to you all. You have nothing to lose to participate. This is part of our purpose as technology companies to really see that innovation is continuing during these interesting times. In addition to this program, and if you for any reason have trouble trying to find this form, just drop me an email and I'll just email it to you. But in addition, I also wanted to let you know, if some of you are new to extended realities, maybe you're still learning the technology, trying to figure it out, I do want to let you know that not next week, but the week after, the week of October 12th, the EDUCAUSE is hosting with HP an XR Learning Lab. It's a 5-day asynchronous course, 1 live session, where we go from 101 for VR all the way through the process and, easy ways just to get started and making a first start into VR on your university. So what I am going to do is I'm putting in the chat the link to this course, and you can go into EDUCAUSE and sign up for it. And I think that will get you a lot of valuable information about the XR technology. And then this program here that's on the slide will give, by participating in that, will help you go get your projects funded. So Michael, what other questions are out there today?
So we had a couple of additional questions, and I will advance us to the survey slide. There is a survey. I sent it through the chat. I'll send it through the chat again, just so everyone has the link to fill out a survey. So while we're getting to these final few questions, if you could go and fill out your survey on today's session, give us your feedback so we can make sure that we're providing you with all the information that you need in the way that you need it. We did have a couple of questions. There was a question about the Omnicept solution. Is there an age limit to using the Omnicept headset?
Wow, that's a good question. I haven't seen anything on the age limit, Michael, right? I really don't know how to answer that, but we don't see that there is an age limit. I mean, of course, some people might not like a headset on their face, depending on what condition they're in and things like that. But we don't have an age limit at all, right?
Okay.
I mean, maybe whoever asked that question maybe can expand.
Sure.
Is it just the age? Is it just condition the person is in? Remember, some of the times, some ISVs will have therapeutic VR applications for maybe older generation, for people with stroke, PTSD. So really good question. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
So,
we did have a question. Go
Elias,
ahead.
one second. Elias, on that, what about like elementary school? Like thinking about some folks are in K-12 here. We typically recommend, ages 13 and up for that.
Yeah, we do the same. I was thinking of the upper age, not the younger age. I'm thinking the question came because, like, could older people use it and things like that? Yeah, you're right, Dana. Correct.
Yeah. No, yeah, a lot of folks are researching dementia and stuff like that. So that's where my head went, but then I went the other way too. So.
No pun intended. My brains went there. My computer went there.
Okay, next one, Michael.
So we have another one here. Is undergraduate, this is probably for Liz, is undergraduate medical education considered in among the grants you talked about? Liz, what are your thoughts on undergraduate medical education?
Yeah, so in this particular case, these are all National Science Foundation grants, and the National Science Foundation steers away from healthcare. That's what National Institutes of Health is for. So these particular grants, medical education usually does not count under STEM education, so probably not the best fit. But there are other grants available that specifically focus on medical education or other healthcare field education.
Great, and we could probably do a whole hour-long session just on medical education grants. In fact, I think we have at one point. Okay, question around the program, the grant support program. How do you work with our university-sponsored programs office? I'm happy to answer that. Dana, do you want to take a run at it?
Typically the way I approach it, I'd love to hear your response to this, but I let the university and who we're engaging with in this program guide us in how to work with any university services like the grants program.
I would totally agree. The Sponsored Programs Office is very good at sort of encouraging faculty to apply for grants and helping faculty when they're interested in applying for research grants in particular. And so we see our role really as being a complement to whatever infrastructure for grants you already have in place in your institution. And if you have a robust Sponsored Programs Office, that's great. We'll work with them, and our goal then would be just to make sure that they have all of the information that's available to them around the grants that can fund the technologies that you're looking to move forward with. If you have a smaller, institution with very little grants professional capacity, we can provide not only research but also consultation and strategy support to help you figure out where to put resources in terms of, grants development activities and the costs associated with those. So we really see ourselves as coming in and providing support wherever exactly what Dana was saying, wherever your institution is, and taking the lead from you and your institution in terms of how we can best add value to the process and how we can help support the teams that are already in place. Great. We've had a lot of fantastic feedback, by the way, about
and Michael, one more next step, so that folks know what's going to come next. I just want to let you all know my colleague, Leslie Odell, she will be reaching out to you on email, providing you that form that I mentioned, the link to that form to get engaged with the program. So take a look out for her email when it comes through.
Yes, and we did get another question about the program. Is there a fee for this service, meaning in parentheses with the report, I'm assuming that's the full service that we were just talking about.
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I mentioned, we want innovation to continue. Like that is our number one priority. So with that, the tech companies, HP, Intel, Microsoft, AMD, we're all chipping in to pay for Michael's services and his team such that we can offer these reports free of charge to you all. So.
Great.
Yep.
And I see Elias put his email address in the chat window, so feel free to reach out to Elias with additional questions about the OmniCept solution. And with that, it appears we've come to the end of our questions, if there are no further questions. I very much want to thank our sponsors, HP, Microsoft, and Intel, for making this session possible. We wouldn't be able to do it without you. And big thanks to our presenters today, Dana Castro, Elias Stefan, Liz Shea, and to all of you for participating in today's session. I hope you found this a valuable use of your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on a future webcast. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Michael. Goodbye.